Thank you all so much for tuning in to Connect. I am here with a dear friend, Bobby Norwood, and it's really cool that you're watching this right now because I know there's a lot of places you could spend your time, on the web, but your eyeballs are here, and that's really cool. And you picked a good day to tune in because Bobby is full of spunk and knowledge, and I know this because I've known you since high school.
High school Bobby would be really intimidated that Titania wanted to talk to me right now. If you guys want to turn back the yearbook,
That was a mess.
this was the coolest girl in high school.
That is so much an exaggeration. High school Titania would be like, "You want me to talk to how many people online? Okay, I'm gonna go hide in a hole now." But you would have never known it. But fast forward, right? I wanted to give you guys a premise for they're really comfortable. Well, because we are, because we've known each other. We've seen each other grow, from that awkward high school, what do I do with my life? Will she answer the phone when I call phase to scaling companies and working both in corporate environments and startup environments, and then having families and the challenges and blessings that come with that. And we've really grown up together, and you've always been such an amazing supporter of everybody in this space, but women in tech, diversity in tech, supporting moms getting back into the workforce, and anyway, it's just really cool to have you here. So tell everybody why they need to be watching this episode. What have you done so far?
Titania, first, thanks for having me. I'm Bobby, husband to Sarah, father to Ellie Jane. She turned 2 in May and is just the greatest thing in the whole wide world. As Titania said, went to Marist together, went all the way up the road to Athens, Georgia, came all the way back. It's a story no one's ever heard.
Yep, ditto.
And went to work in commercial real estate. The last boom cycle. Started in closed-end equity fund investment, moved over, did Lifeco debt work and workout, which is solving big bad commercial loan problems. And during that time, met my eventual business partner, noticed an opportunity in what was then the early Wild West days of crowdfunding, and launched a little community nonprofit ministry-based crowdfunding platform called URoot. Retrospect, it was a terrible name. You're not eBay, don't make up a word.
You're not eBay, don't make up a word.
But it was URUUT, and the idea being it took lots of U's to build stronger roots in the community. And we had a couple of different twists on the pricing model, how the service was delivered, how things were communicated to try to get bigger donors into the pool with moms and pops and $10 and $20. And had some moderate success along the way, got noticed, and ended up selling the company to what is now Fundly. And that was so incredibly successful that I absolutely still need a day job. So I'm back in commercial real estate on the finance investment banking side of things. Work for a company here in town called Bullock Manley. And the easiest version of what I do now is if you're trying to build it or buy it, I'll help you pay for it.
That sounds like a win. That sounds like a job that when you go home at the end of the day, you feel good about the contributions you've made.
There's enough demand that I get to be fairly selective about who I work with. Mm-hmm. And someone years ago said that if you needed a no a-hole rule, it was already too late, and have tried to defend whose reputation I or we as a company take into the market. So there are good people in this business, and I know they're all making a ton of money right now. I wish I was one of them, but that care a lot about what the future of Atlanta or the cities that they work in look like. And those are the fun ones to work with.
100%. And it's such an exciting time to be in that industry in Atlanta. I was really moved by a conversation we had over coffee, which pushed me to bring you in here today, because I'm like, people need to know about this. So let's talk about how, if you are an hourly worker, you make under let's say 50 a year?
Mm-hmm.
If you make under $50,000 a year, it's darn near impossible for you to live inside the city limits of Atlanta.
It's darn hard for you to live within an hour of Atlanta.
It's crazy.
The men and women that make, and we'll keep this to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
but that make any city work,
Mm-hmm.
the affordability problem is not unique to Atlanta.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, in the pantheon of bigger cities, we're doing a little better than some others.
Okay, that's good.
But your options are live somewhere that's a little scary with access to poor, underachieving schools, likely in a food desert, so you will travel extensively for the basics, or live a very long way away.
And we know Atlanta traffic is no joke. We were both like really stressing to get here on time, because you just never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We weren't texting and driving, but we were texting and driving. And yeah, we were both 15 minutes late. I gave myself an hour to get here.
Yeah,
It was 8
same.
miles.
Yeah, it's not that hard, but 285. Anyway, problem is you've got to live way the heck out or in a not so great place in order to access your means to provide for your family.
Well, and how long will you really put in 90-minute commutes to clean hotel rooms, to tend bar, to do the things to string the things together that people have to? It's scary to think about Atlanta or any major city without the people that make it work.
100%. I am so thankful for everyone who puts in the time to make Atlanta a well-oiled machine. And it's not just the CEOs and the VPs and the presidents. It's everyone. And we need to shed a light on how we, who do have the means or do have the connections, can help those people live a better, easier life in town.
I think the question here is, why did this happen?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
How did this happen?
And you'll hear, whether it's politicians, evangelists, whoever it is, they love to find someone to lay this at the feet of, and it's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not about blame, but we do need to problem solve and fix it.
Right. It costs a lot of money to build anything right now. Have a single family contractor come in here, a home builder, and ask him about his subs getting stolen from his site while he went to get them lunch.
Wow.
Don't go try and find brick and stone guys right now. They don't exist. I don't know where they went, but no one can find them. So the cost of land is through the roof. The cost of general compliance, zoning, entitlement, everything it takes just to get to put the shovel in the dirt is through the roof. And then once you're going, no one can control construction costs right now because there's a massive labor shortage. There's no one to drive the trucks to get the stuff to the site. So I hear people around my industry say, we're only building apartments for rich people. We're only building luxury housing. It's the only thing we can afford to build. So the answer is, you got to find a way to make some of those numbers smaller somewhere. And the tech industry, some forward thinkers, are trying really hard to find ways to do that right now.
Awesome. Tell us what they're doing.
The first thing that I like about all of the bleeding edge stuff is they're going to prove that this works in a totally free market, unsupported situation. We've tried project housing, never went anywhere. It's not the answer. So giving away free land and not paying taxes, it's all good in one little spot. But if this doesn't work in an arm's length transaction where it's profitable to some extent to provide housing for everybody, your mousetrap's not that great. But if you look at panelized construction, a company out west called Katerra, they will essentially flat pack your building. So it's giant IKEA furniture that people live in.
Yeah.
They'll do medical, office, obviously multifamily, single family, you name it. Their biggest competitor is modular construction. And this is factory built housing. It's got a bad name because all you can think about is a trailer park.
Right.
That's not what modular is.
No, you look at it and you cannot tell.
Absolutely not. I
At
think
all.
I sent you a couple
You
of.
did. I was blown away.
The name that comes to mind is a company out of Idaho called Gurdon that actually just took a big round of financing. Good for them. And again, all the major food groups, but they build the entire thing in a climate-controlled environment with less than 1% waste.
Wow.
So it's environmentally sustainable. You're not bringing the materials and the trades out to a job site. And an assembly line worker building apartments one module at a time probably makes $18, $20 an hour. A skilled tradesman, $75, $100 an hour. So we're wasting less, we're paying less to build it, and the construction time is cut dramatically. I watched a builder here in Atlanta put up a modular home, and it was the first time he'd done it. And it was done in 2.5 hours, move-in ready.
What? That's amazing. That's amazing. So we know that it's out there. It is possible. Is anybody doing it yet in Atlanta?
Oh. that last caveat's tough.
Yeah.
There is a very large apartment complex in Orlando. This has been done, of course, in the Valley around San Francisco,
Totally.
San Jose. It's done incredibly well through particularly Northern Europe, very short building season, and several countries throughout Asia. There's some crazy time lapses, China and Japan, of building 20-story hotels in what looks like about a week. Australia is doing a lot of it. Here locally, it's happening a little on single family, but there are a lot of reasons you're not seeing apartments built this way.
Right.
The banks can't wrap their head around how to finance it. The municipalities have been a little odd about the zoning, entitlement, permitting, everything that goes along with getting it in there. But there are people locally making an effort that want to do this with the hope that it will allow either a lower price point across an entire project or some of the units to be very deeply discounted.
So if it's possible with a little bit of work across different sectors, how could it impact the city? What is the benefit to us moving down this path?
Have you ever spent any time in Brooklyn?
Yes.
It's a pretty cool place.
It really
right?
is.
But a little bit of everybody lives there.
Uh-huh.
You know there are multi-million-dollar flats. And you know there are people that are riding around in a chauffeured car. And you know there are people that are riding a bike because the taxi's too expensive.
Right.
But it's a pretty cool place to hang out and visit. I think that's a great way for Atlanta and some of these burgeoning neighborhoods to grow, to say, yes, there can be some lift, there can be some gentrification, there can be new people, new energy moving in here, but we don't have to then shove the existing residents miles and miles away or into somewhere that they don't want to live. Their neighborhood finally got good.
Right, right. So for anybody who wants to learn more about this, pour into this, support it, where should they go? What should they do?
ULI, the Urban Land Institute, does a really good job of covering advances in technology, advances in housing. You can have a blast on YouTube with this, honestly. Watching.
And you're already here, so just, after this is over, pop around.
Just nose around panelized construction, modular construction, and then the last one in here is our friends over at Icon. And I think you and I both know Brett Hagler at News Story. And I'll go ahead and plug one of my very favorite nonprofits.
You should.
Providing amazing housing in third world countries all around the world, crowd-funded. Watch your money go to work with the family you sponsored, and $4,000 for putting a roof over someone's head. Well, to try to slim that number down and to try to make these things happen faster, they partnered with a company called Icon, who does 3D printing.
Yeah.
Go watch, they debuted at South by this year, a news story house that was printed in less than 24 hours, move-in ready by an Icon 3D printer, and it looks like soft serve. It's concrete, but it looks like a big gray ice cream cone. And, that's a whole different way of doing this. And the question is, will the American market, we're kind of spoiled, accept it? If you're coming out of a tent or something, this looks like the Ritz-Carlton. But, listen, Decatur's doing tiny houses. There's a million ways to skin this cat, but people need to be thoughtful about it.
Absolutely. Bobby, every time we talk, I'm just like, fascinating. And it's invigorating. And I'm sure people watching are like, dude, I want to know more about what is in his brain. So, good news is there's a website called robertnorwood.com, and we'll have the link below. And you blog about not only real estate and affordable housing, but lots of other things. What else can people engage with you about? Well,
I'm glad you're fascinated. I more advertise it as I'm really full of bad ideas.
That is so true.
But, I respect men and women that are constantly trying to do it better. And, that's as much what that's about as anything. Because my tagline headline for everything is, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I source capital for real estate deals. So if there's a way to try to be a better dad, to be a better husband, or to be better at my job, I'm interested in it.
Yes.
So it's, what am I reading? Last week I blogged about, I have gadgets to get away from gadgets. I'm trying to get away from the screen time, the cell phone, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I got more gadgets to get away from gadgets.
So then you get a smartwatch, and then, but wait. Yeah.
But listen, it's a mishmash, but it's whatever was interesting that morning.
But it's cool, and you are humble, but I can brag on you, and so I think you should all check out robertnorwood.com. Bobby, where's your favorite place to connect with people? Is it Twitter? Is it LinkedIn? Is it both?
Goodness. Twitter and LinkedIn right now.
Yep.
I've got a really great Instagram account that's nothing but pictures of my daughter eating at Waffle House.
And she is adorable, by the way.
But Norwood Bob on Twitter, and just Bob Norwood on LinkedIn.
Great. We'll link to that as well. As we close, Another thing that I really respect about you and would like to see more of from more men that I interact with is just how open you are about your faith and how vulnerable you are with the fact that like not everything's great. Sometimes things are not so great, but you get through it and you're open about it. So yeah, just meditate on that for a minute, verbally.
Well, real life is the opposite of Facebook.
Yes.
And that's why you can't find me there anymore, among other things.
Right.
But, I heard something meaningful a few weeks ago, stuck in the back of my head. Pastor said, you have to live with God when things are their worst, because bad things have been happening to good people forever.
Forever.
But he never left them. And if I'm walking around, if you're walking around and trying to tell the world that nothing could ever go wrong and life is great and oh my gosh, I have no worries in the whole wide world, it just tells everyone we encounter every single day that there's something terribly wrong with them.
Wow.
And that's not the case. We're all screw-ups.
Own it. Own it. Yep. We've got the badge. But when you embrace that, you actually have more freedom. And it empowers you to live without fear, for the most part. And, you can go out and accomplish things, and it's just really cool to know that the creator of the universe is on our side. Like, I might not know how to figure out something or navigate something. I might be facing a major health crisis. You just never know, but like, the one who created everything loves you and is there for you.
Well, years and years ago, when I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I kind of like to call it grocery store Christianity. I was walking down the aisle and grabbing the things that worked, and there were certain parts of it I didn't care for. And he was another young guy. He challenged me, and he said, your milestone needs to be the hardest thing to do is to pray dangerously and to mean it. And what he meant by that was just to say, your will be done.
Yeah.
And not send up a shopping list and a menu.
Right.
And that means if it's not my plan, it has to be okay.
Yep.
I'm still not 100% there. I try to mean it, but.
It's at least you're thinking about it, right? Yeah, I mean, Titania Jordan is here on this planet for a reason and for a very finite amount of time, whether that's 40 years or hopefully like 95 years. But I can pursue things that fulfill me and my selfish goals and desires, or I can serve the God who created me and use the unique talents and gifts that He has given me to bring honor and glory to His name. And when you're pursuing the will of God, it works. It's the best. It might not feel like the best, but it is the best. And we've seen it time and time again if you read the Bible and see where people have diverted and then when they've got back on the right path. But sometimes it's just hard to know what path to go down. Sometimes it's hard to stay on that path. And we're human. We're not always the smartest creatures, and we do have our own will. And so, it's just cool to be able to navigate that dynamic with people who are open about feeling that way.
Well, isn't that what the Bible's all about? I mean, even if you're not into the spiritual thing, this is a great story of amazing things happening by a bunch of complete screw-ups.
Yes.
There's only one character in there that wasn't. Everyone else was so flawed.
I know.
This is, even if you're not into the supernatural aspect of this, it's just good reading.
It's really cool.
And, you mentioned a finite amount of time here. It is the one thing we absolutely unequivocally can't get more of, and I'm not trying to give either one of us a panic attack here. But what are we doing with it?
Yeah.
So it's at least we figured it out now. You watch these people scramble to change their life at 65 when they realize that they can actually see the finish line.
Right. Right.
So off we go.
Off we go. Well, I'm excited to do big things, with you in this space with the time we have. And thank you for your time, for your vulnerability, for everything that you give back to the community, your family. And just thank you so much. And everybody, go check out Bobby's blog. Link is below. Thank you so much for being here.
Next episode at the Waffle House, hosted by a 2-year-old.